Okay, guys, this is chapter 24 of The Man Who Loved Clowns, and it is titled Home. Aunt Queenie left the hospital to rent the necessary equipment. A few hours later, Uncle Bert and I went home with Punky. I looked at the house with new eyes, so very thankful that Punky was here to see it. Christmas lights twinkled in the window, and when Aunt Queenie came out rolling a wheelchair, carols wafted through the door. I was overwhelmed when I saw what she had done to the family room. Except for the couch, the television set, and the Christmas tree, everything had been moved out to make room for a hospital bed, oxygen equipment, and Punky's punching bag clown. His clown posters plastered the walls. Aunt Queenie smiled at me as she helped Punky into the bed, saying, "It's good to have everybody home." Punky was never alone. At night, Aunt Queenie and Uncle Bert took turns sleeping on the couch. And at least one of us sat with him throughout the day. Not even Mom could have cared for Punky better than Aunt Queenie. She gave him oxygen, washed him, shaved him, fed him when he was too weak to lift a spoon. I had to go back to school, but my heart was never far away from the family room. Every afternoon, as soon as the last bell rang, I raced out of the building and home. Home. The word turned over and over in my mind. Punky and I no longer had Mom and Dad, but at last, we had a home. There were days when Punky did nothing but sleep, and others when he wanted his bed cranked up so he could watch TV. I lived for the chance to switch channels for him. Boss called often, and one afternoon he brought Barney and Susie over for a visit. It broke my heart to see them sitting quietly, their eyes big with anxiety. When it came time for them to go, Susie kissed Punky's cheek and asked, "You come back to work?" Barney gave him 5 and said, "Oh, my friend." I tried to carve on Ronald McDonald, but often I'd catch myself just sitting there with the little clown in my hand and my thoughts a million miles away. When Punky's waking hours became shorter, I forced myself to keep carving so Ronald would be finished in time for Christmas. Deep down, though, I feared Punky wouldn't live that long. Uncle Bert and Aunt Queenie feared it too. Sometimes, in the night, when I could sleep, I'd go to the family room and find them both keeping watch over Punky. Early one morning, Aunt Queenie seemed to be waiting for something. She kept watching the clock and looking out the window. When footsteps sounded on the porch, she jumped up and ran to the door before the visitor could knock. In a second, she was back, and I did a double take. Behind her were Boss and Santa Claus. "Ho, ho, ho," Santa said, winking at me, and I realized he was the general. "Merry Christmas!" Punky's eyes flew open. "Santa Claus!" "That's right, my boy, and I've got lots of presents for you in my pack." Uncle Bert and I helped Punky unwrap his gifts, a t-shirt emblazoned with the American flag, socks, crayons, a wind-up clown, a silly pencil with a fuzzy head on one end, and a soft yellow blanket decorated with figures of Jelly Bean the Clown. Tears scalded my throat, and I looked at Aunt Queenie, wondering when she'd had time to do any shopping. Her face was wet. Boss, Uncle Bert, and Santa were crying too. Only Punky was happy, and his face practically lit up the room. Within 5 minutes after Santa and Boss left, he was sound asleep, wearing his new shirt and socks, and cuddled in his new blanket. Aunt Queenie turned down the lights and sat watching TV with Uncle Bert. I sat cross-legged on the tarp on the floor, adding the finishing touches to Ronald with the V-tool. Then sanding him and painting him with bright acrylic colors. Bedtime came, but I stayed in the family room. With my family, I thought, as a warmth I hadn't felt for a long, long time enveloped me. Suddenly Punky sat straight up in bed and pointed at the darkened corner of the room. "Look," he said. We looked and saw nothing. "What is it?" asked Uncle Bert in alarm. "Shorty and Sam, come home," replied Punky, smiling. He lay down and went back to sleep. Punky died that night. I held Angel. Read. Angel, where are you? Read. Did Angel leave? Fernanda, read. Punky died that night. On page 218.
Punky died that night. I held up his arm in my arms and prayed that God would give him back, but it was not to be. That last thing I remember is Aunt Queenie hugging me and saying, "Punky's not and kept now he's like everybody else."
He's just like everybody else. Angel, where were you? I needed you and you didn't come on.
Dude,
I couldn't hear you. I kept calling you. Angel, Angel, where were you? I needed you to read. Dude.
I was here the whole time, but I didn't realize that my mic was off.
Oh, man. Yes?
Miss, your character just died.
Yes.
He died that night.
Your favorite character just died.
Miss Silver just
Am I crying? I cry every time. Ask Isabel and Jocelyn. Look at them. They're laughing at me again. I cry.